It's time for a good
Yes.
old-fashioned Q&A, MMA fans.
Yes.
Ladies and
To answer
gentlemen,
some question,
the
let me
moment
put
has
these
arrived to hear from the man
thingies up
himself,
here.
Ariel
Moderator
Helwani.
Lewis.
Live from the Box
All
Studios
right.
in beautiful New York City.
It's been a busy day,
on the
busy
nose.
week.
And now,
More
to
to
answer
come.
your questions, get out of your seats and on your feet because
Thank you, yes.
here he is, Ariel Helwani.
Thank you very much, Mike Heck. Time to answer your questions. Of course, you left them all for me. arielhelwani.substack.com. Everyone's favorite segment of the week, where we tell it like it is, where we shoot from the hip, where we keep it real. A lot of people go here first. You know, they want the real stuff. They want the real. They want all of that. I mean, this is the opposite of when people do like the tweet and then the second tweet first reported by. This is like the opposite of that. That's the unreal. This is the real. You get what I'm saying? You know, you ever see people do that? They're like, da-da-da-da-da, and then it's the second tweet when there was definitely 240 characters, and then they do it on the second tweet. You know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's called whackness. Brad Tyson leads us off. Hello, Ariel. There's talk of Davison Figueiredo potentially not making 125 again. Is there? I mean, I feel like we addressed this. Why do you think that there has been no suggestion of a potential champ versus champ matchup at 135 like there has been with Volkanovski at 55? Also, what are your thoughts on a potential matchup with Figueiredo versus Sterling/TJ? Must say, I'm loving the MMA Hour multi and the banter between all of you guys at the top of the show. It's hilarious. Thank you. I enjoy it as well. In Australia, we have an age-old saying, surround yourself with goers and you too shall go. It's clear you have done this with the great team assembled on the MMA Hour. Keep up the great work, guys. Wow, how nice is that, guys? It's a nice message from
It's the
Brad.
nicest thing I've heard today.
Makes my day.
In any event, yeah, there's no real talk of, I want to see Davison go back down to 25. I want to see the conclusion of that feud. I want to see the fourth fight. Sterling's got a lot going on at 35. I just don't know if Figueiredo's at the point now where people will be clamoring for him to fight. I think because he hasn't defended it as many times as Volk did at 145. I think people want to see a resolution to this feud, rivalry, whatever you want to call it. I don't think there's anyone really clamoring for him to fight at 35 against Sterling or TJ. So that's why. Yes, he looks big. Yes, he told me 35. No, I don't believe him at the moment. He said he weighs 35, 135. I think the biggest fight for both those guys is fighting themselves for a fourth time. And I don't think there's as much, even though he's the 25 champ going up to 35, I don't think there's as much of a demand. So I think it would be in his best interest to try to cut that weight at least one more time, settle this with Moreno, and then deal with whatever comes next. Jan P. Ariel, is it actually possible to do side-by-side interviews with two fighters on the show? I think you mentioned how Figgy thought he was doing the interview alongside Brandon Moreno, and that made me wonder why something like that has actually never been done. It has been done. I feel like those can be super fun, especially with the right fighters, i.e. Figgy and Moreno, but I'd also imagine there would be a ton of logistical hurdles involved. Do you have your own reasons, or has such a thing never actually crossed your mind? Thanks. And then someone else asked, why have you stopped doing the We Have Our Opponent on the Other Line routine? I mean, that question alone is part of the reason why I stopped doing it. It was never a routine. It was the way the show was booked, and sometimes it worked out where we had the other person on the line. I've done it before. I did it with Connor and Cole Miller. The most famous one probably, and the earliest one, was Rhonda and Misha. They both knew about it, and Misha was the champ, and Rhonda actually, believe it or not, was the one who convinced me to do it, where Rhonda was trying to get the title shot against Misha. This was late 2011, and we had them both on at the same time. Always pissed me off. I think we initially misspelled Rhonda's name on the graphic. This was back in the AOL days. We've done it before, and we actually have the capability to do it now with the two Zoom screens, and I think there has been talk of doing it with MVP and Mike Perry before their bare knuckle fight in a couple of weeks. I don't know. I kind of like the one-on-ones. It's hard to do it virtually or via the phone. Obviously, we've talked about Stotts and Sabatello in studio, perhaps. Maybe, I don't know, either side of the desk. Would have to block this off a little bit differently. But, you know, it was always funny to me earlier in my career when people would say things like, oh, you're instigating fight. And now you get asked, you know, why don't you do it? Because the fans always loved it. The fans always wanted to do it. They were almost like, I don't know, unaware or uninformed as to what our job was. and that was to ask fighters questions and not ask them about like how their training camp went or what they ate for dinner or how they're going to celebrate their wins. And so I always was confused by that. Like, isn't that like we're about to watch two guys punch each other? Like, don't you want to know, you know, what the issue is here, how they're feeling, things of that nature? But, you know, people say stupid things. Anyway, if you'd like it to do it again, I could do it again. I could bring it back. It just hasn't really worked out that way. I think we did it also at ESPN a couple times. Brantley, hey Ariel, this didn't make the cut last week, so trying again. Going back in time a bit here, one of your most famous interviews was with Dana White at his office to announce the sale of Strikeforce. As a longtime MMA fan, this still stands out as one of the biggest moments I can remember. Can you give us some behind-the-scenes details of this day and the interview? I know interviews with Dana were fairly regular back then, but were you given any heads up? Do you have any inside information that Strikeforce may be getting sold beforehand? Walk us through what that day was like. Thanks and have a great Wednesday. Yeah, that's a crazy day. And the great Lewis has included a screen grab of that day, of that interview. This is March of 2011, early March of 2011. I'm in Louisville, Kentucky, KFC Yum Center. It's Martin Kampmann against Diego Sanchez. And I was working for Versus, and I was doing their pre- and post-fight shows. And I remember we were supposed to interview Dana White. You know, this was back when our relationship was great, for the pre-show. And I remember, I think we were going to do the interview on the Friday. We were either going to do the interview on the Friday or the Saturday. I think the fight might actually have been on a Sunday. Or it could have been on a Wednesday. I don't know. My memory's all weird. I have another funny story about that KFC Yum Center event. Anyway, the day of the interview, he told me that he was sick and that he couldn't do the interview and that he had to cancel, which was very rare because he never canceled. And he told me that he would make it up to me and that we would do an interview within the next week. And I was like, all right, cool. And I was like, where are we doing it? Like, where do you want to do this? How are we doing this? What are we doing? He said, I'll tell you later. So, all right. A day or two later, he said, you remember that interview that I said I would, you know, do with you to make up for having to cancel the pre-fight interview? We're going to do it, if you want it, on Thursday of this coming week. And I said, cool. What are we talking about? Like, why do you want to do this now? He said, I can't tell you, but if you want the interview, I suggest coming to Vegas. Now, so I didn't know what was going on. And I remember talking to, you know, the people that I was working with, and I think one of the jokes was like, is he going to announce a new toy line, a new video game, this or that? And I believed that if he's saying, hey, you got to come here, it's a big deal, you know, it's a big deal. It's worth the shot. So I got on a plane, JFK to Las Vegas, without knowing what we were going to talk about, what the big interview was, what he wanted to share. And I remember going into the room, and I was there with Casey and Esther, and I remember going to Zuffa HQ, and I remember going into his office, and I remember him closing the door and saying, we just bought Strikeforce. And you have to remember, at the time, Strikeforce was on fire. They had the heavyweight Grand Prix. They were doing big numbers on Showtime. They just had the event at the Meadowlands in New Jersey. They had another event in Columbus. And there was no talk, no whispers, no scuttlebutt, no rumors, no nothing of them selling, let alone to Zuffa. And I mean, there was, you know, they were owned by the owners of the San Jose Sharks, HP Pavilion. And it seemed like, you know, they were getting big names, free agents. They had Dick Diaz and Alistair Overeem and Daniel Cormier and Luke Rockhold, and they were rolling. They were absolutely rolling. And so I was like, what? That's this. I mean, no one saw this coming. This is crazy. So I obviously didn't prep anything. We did the interview, and I just had to think of all the questions. And of course, you know, a lot of it was fresh. A lot of it was new. And the line that he kept repeating over and over again was business as usual. I remember there was that really catastrophic tsunami that hit Japan that day as well. This is in my my memory bank. Like, it was just like a somewhat, you know, newsworthy, noteworthy, chaotic day. And I remember just thinking like, wow, I can't believe this, and I can't wait to share. I mean, this is a massive, massive deal. A few months prior, we had done an interview about merging WEC and UFC, which was big, but this was obviously seismic. It was gigantic. I mean, no one really knew about it. The fighters didn't know about it. The vast majority of the Strikeforce employees didn't know about it. Like, it really came out of left field. So it was a really big deal. And those are, you know, the moments and the interviews that I'll always be grateful and thankful for. And, you know, things obviously have changed over times, but those are big turning points. Those are big moments. Those are big, you know, bookmarks, earmarks, whatever you want to call them in the career. I remember, I think I've told this before, like, I remember seeing Scott at the Meadowlands event, and he was standing at the back, like at the tunnel where the fighters walked out. He was wearing a long trench coat, and usually Scott is, you know, sitting cage side. I remember him looking at the whole thing and admiring. The arena was close to a sellout. Fedor was on the card. A lot of big names were on the card. And I remember just watching him and being like, I wonder why he's standing here and looking at everything. And then I came to find out that at that point, he knew that the end was near and that it would never be the same. And I think he was just taking it all in. That's an image that I'll never forget as well. I'll also never forget that Louisville card, because that was the card right before that event. I went to Albuquerque to interview John Jones at the Jackson Wink Gym, and this was several weeks before the Shogun fight in Newark, which was March 19th or something like that. March 28th, I don't know, sometime in March. I'm now, you know, forgetting the days, but sometime in March of that exact year. And, you know, he gets this title fight against Shogun after Rashad gets injured. He just beat Ryan Bader. Super Bowl weekend, Joe Rogan in the cage tells him you're going to get a title shot as a result. He's emotional. We talked to him backstage. Rashad is injured, and everyone's like, whoa, wait a second. They're friends. Rashad's his mentor. What happens if he wins this fight? What's going to happen to the title? And I remember going to Albuquerque to interview John Jones. We did it in the cage, and I asked him, if you win, will you fight Rashad? And he said yes. And that was a big deal because up until that point, they always said that they wouldn't fight each other. And so that was huge. We do the interview, and as these things usually go, it's not like here where we just play the whole interview, it's live. They'll take these interviews and cut them down to 5 minutes. And I remember having dinner the night before the show. I think Molly Karam, who hosts First Take, was the host of the pre and post show coverage that I was a part of. And I remember talking to the producer and saying, like, what made the condensed interview with John Jones, like, what made the final cut? And I remember him telling me everything. I was like, wait a second, did the Rashad part not make the cut? And they're like, no, we didn't really see how it fit. I was like, that's gigantic news. That is, you know, seismic news. So then we aired the thing. It was too late to add it. We aired it. Then I came back on camera, and then I set it up, and then we threw to that clip, and that's really what set off the issue between them. And then I interviewed Rashad after the John Jones win against Shogun in Newark in the crowd when they let us do that back in the day, and he was also very upset afterwards, and that's when everything really popped off, and they fought the following year, UFC 145. So anyway, crazy to look at this picture here with Dana. That was a long time ago, 11 plus years ago, and I'm you know, regardless of what has happened since, and obviously it has not been great, and it's been, you know, at times inappropriate. It's been at times crossing the line. It's been at times uncomfortable, unprofessional, all those things that you want to say, and then some. And y'all don't even know everything. One day I'll tell you everything. I'm still grateful and appreciative of these moments and look back on them with fondness. El Cubano. Hola, Ariel. Assume the main event between Thiago Santos and Jamal Hill ends in a knockout this Saturday, and you had to play matchmaker immediately after the fight. Who do you see the winner fighting next if they win in impressive fashion? With all the questions in the light heavyweight division, I'm curious as to how it will all play out in your opinion. That is a great question. If they're going to go with Yuri and Glover next, I think they should then do Jan and Magomed. Rakic is out. Smith is the next guy. He's going to be out for a while, needs the surgery. Then you got Thiago Santos, who then would, you know, if let's say he loses to Jamal Hill, which I think Jamal is going to win that fight. How about Volkan Ozdemir? I feel like that's the one. Jamal Hill, Volkan Ozdemir. Now, Dominic Reyes is on the comeback trail, and he's still ranked. He's still highly ranked, number 7, but so it might be a tough fight to come back to, but to me, it would be Ozdemir or Reyes. Those are the fights. Dianjo. Good day, Ariel. Your discussion last week about Vince departing the WWE and the potential impact had me thinking. Although he has taken a major step back and is fairly removed from the day-to-day, what kind of changes would you predict for the UFC if Dana were to retire or move on? My follow-up question is, what impact would it have on your relationship with the UFC, extending to petty little things such as your tweets not being shown on the telecast? Cheers from Melbourne, Australia. First, let me just say, as a postscript to the Vince stuff, 2 things. Number 1, obviously I was in Nashville last week, getting a chance to talk to a lot of people, taking the temperature. The morale and the positivity surrounding the product right now is very high. So that's really interesting. Let's see what happens. It seems like everyone loves Triple H and Stephanie, so I'm curious to see what happens there. SummerSlam was a good event. Logan Paul, McAfee, main event was good. WWE, wrestling fans, wrestling Twitter, whatever you want to call them, they're a very funny bunch. I saw them like say that I glossed over the Vince. Like, I have said multiple times that I thought the product was stale, that I wasn't watching the product, that Vince was out of touch. Like, I don't think I could have said anything more, I don't know, negative, but they then assume to, like, they just kind of like assume like I'm not saying that, or pretend like I'm not saying that. And then they're like, oh, Ariel's out doing, interviews with the wrestlers in character. They're not in character. None of them are in character. And also, his friend and former agent is Nick Khan. I literally say that every time I speak about this. I throw out that qualifier. I've said that I love watching AEW and Dynamite, and I enjoy watching it, especially on Wednesdays. MJF, all this stuff that they've been doing. Like, it's amazing how people could just make up whatever they want. Sort of like my friend with his emails last week. Make up whatever they want just to make up some kind of story because they've got this preconceived notions or this self-fulfilling prophecy. But I have always kept it real, kept it 100. Even when I did the interview with Nick last year, the first thing I said to him was, yeah, you were my agent back then. I didn't know this would play out like this. I would just say, like, you guys are looking for something that just isn't there. You're making shit up that just isn't there. And I feel like I've kept it pretty damn honest in terms of what I think of the product and what I think of the product moving forward now that Vince is gone. What happened is something that is ongoing and has just been uncovered. And I said, go check out the Wall Street Journal because they've done way more reporting on this than I have and know way more about it. But I think this is a net positive for the company. How could you argue against that? I mean, a 77-year-old man shouldn't be booking for the younger generation. Now, how this pertains to a Dana White situation, I think, is not apples to apples. You have to remember, the UFC isn't pro wrestling. So the head of creative leaving is a massive deal. This is the guy who's writing the shows, putting together, the actual direction of the company. UFC, it's matchmakers, but then up until that point, like, the ship kind of steers itself. And as I've told you guys, Hunter Campbell is the guy who's really doing a lot of that heavy lifting. McMahon or Sean Shelby are doing a lot of that matchmaking and signing. Dana isn't doing a lot of that. So I think, positive or negative, Vince leaving WWE is of greater impact to WWE than Dana leaving UFC, because Vince was literally writing the shows. Like, obviously not just him, but he's head of creative. He's putting together the shows. There's a bunch of people working there, but the direction, all that, his fingerprints were everywhere. Hiring, firing, it's a lot different in UFC. I think you're fooling yourself if you think otherwise. If you think Dana leaving UFC, right now UFC runs itself. Now, they'll lose the figurehead, they'll lose that face, they'll lose that guy at the podium. But honestly, how much is he? I mean, he's doing his media days from his office these days. He'll jump on McAfee's show, he'll jump on with this guy, with that guy. It's generally same old. And I'm not throwing shade here. This is like him talking about Cyborg yesterday. I saw that clip on Jedi's feed. I'm not throwing shade here, but them's the truth. Like, what else is he doing other than showing up at a press conference here or there? Every fighter that you talk to, the vast majority of them say, no, we don't deal with him. We deal with Hunter. We deal with Sean. We deal with Mick. So I think Vince leaving is a bigger impact. I think it's a greater impact for the company. And Dana leaving is kind of like a net zero. The biggest loss will be you lose that face, that guy who did. And by the way, there's great value in that. A guy who could go out, do the interviews, as I was talking with Peter. There's great value in that. But in terms of behind the scenes, the company, the growth, the matchmaking, it's not the impact that you think it is. As for the follow-up, my relationship, I don't know. It would be impossible for me to guess. I've told the story of when Hunter was hired, he texted me and said, big fan, let's catch up, love what you do, blah, blah, blah. And then I never heard back from him again. So maybe, things would change, or maybe enough time has passed since then where, things won't change. I don't know. I don't lose sleep over it. Everything's good. I'm happy. They're happy. We're all happy. God bless. We can all live harmoniously. The whole thing is dumb. The whole thing is crazy. I don't even know how we got to this point. There is a little revisionist history because people think that for some reason they forget that I was going to events when I was working for ESPN. And even after those 2 days in 2016, I feel like people actually think I haven't been to an event since 2016, which is very weird to me. But alas, that is not the case. Adriano, hi Ariel. Sorry to hear that you won't be able to showcase how a real press conference should be conducted again this week. Thank you. Question is in relation to the main event and co-main event post-fight interviews. I know you have spoke about this on Monday, about the lost opportunity of Moreno and Figgy in their face-off. I feel like Amanda Nunes also missed a great opportunity of calling out Kayla Harrison. Not really. She's not under contract with them. What's she going to call her out? Create the narrative that she rejected joining UFC because she was scared of her. That's something you do in the post-fight interview. Post-fight press conference, not the post-fight interview. You just won a huge fight. You just got your belt back. You just avenged your loss. I think that would have fallen flat. Do you think this was a missed opportunity? No. That wasn't about calling people out. Valentina is the next big fight for her, not Kayla. I feel like we're just looking at rematches as an easy option because the other divisions aren't moving quick enough. And then Matt Mo said, what's poppin', Lord Ariel? Did Amanda Nunes regaining the title move the needle at all towards a possible Kayla Harrison matchup? Maybe it increases their interest, but I don't see that. I mean, I think that going to be interesting to see what happens with Cyborg, and going to be interesting to see if PFL makes a push there. Kayla's making so much money with the PFL, and I know that she, wanted to sign that Bellator deal because they were matching, but I think you guys are looking into this. Maybe in a year or two down the line, but it's not next. As far as when she would be free, it's in a little less than 2 years. I think it's like 18 months or something like that. David, hi Ariel. The more I thought about the cancellation of the Jake Paul pay-per-view, it seems that nobody's talking about the seismic ramifications from a financial perspective. Jake's last fight didn't do well as far as pay-per-view buys, obviously. Yes, but it didn't do as bad as people are saying it did. Like it did, people say 85, the real number is under 500, but it's still in the 3 digits, and it's over 200. I know one has nothing to do with the other, but think of how the UFC bounced back after 151 got canceled. They threw John Jones a bone, if you will, and placed him on 52. So my question to you is, do you think Jake Paul and company can overcome this seismic loss, or will this boxing experiment be looked at as a disaster? It's weird to me because even Dana was talking about it. He needs like some other people around him. And I talked about this on Monday with Nikisa, right? Like Nikisa, his business partner, who Dana's taking a shot at because he's the former CFO and chief strategy officer of the UFC, and Dana doesn't like the fact that someone who is in on the inside is daring to challenge them. And as New York Rick pointed out, they have poked the bear, so he's allowed to feel a certain way, no doubt about it. But MVP is not the UFC. MVP has 3 fighters under roster. Jake Paul, Ashton Silve, and Amanda Serrano. All 3 of them were fighting. And they're partners with Showtime on these events. So yes, they are going to lose money, no doubt about that, because they're going to have to pay for fighters. Some were already in. There's the MSG component and all this stuff. But it's not like this thing is, it's not like the ship is going to sink. The Hasim Rahman stuff is super weird. I was actually talking to him yesterday. He's telling me that he's going to weigh in on Friday. Shades of Tony Ferguson prior to 249. He is going to want to prove that he could have made 205 come hell or high water. And I think the issue was the fight was supposed to be at 200. Then they pushed it to 205. Then there was some issues about 205. And I think once there was some doubt that this would be done in a healthy way, they felt like they needed to wash their hands. Right or wrong, that's the story that I'm getting. Now, you could say, was it a mistake to even go down this path to begin with? Yeah, potentially. The guy never fought under 220. Huge question marks surrounding his ability to make that weight. We talked to him about this on the show. Obviously, the best scenario would have been Tommy Fury. But I believe right now, Jake Paul cannot go back to this well. There are only 2 fights right now for Jake Paul. There are only 2 fights that he and his team need to focus on right now. Nathan Diaz, Anderson Silva. And I would probably put Silva first because Silva's the guy who can fight in October. Diaz is going to have to wait for the whole process to play out. These other guys just can't be trusted right now. The Fury situation, for whatever reasons, has fallen through twice. You can't go back to that well. If they announce right now that he is fighting Tommy Fury, people are going to roll their eyes. If they announce right now that he's going to fight Hasim Rahman in September, people are going to roll their eyes. Anderson Silva is reliable. He will show up. Diaz is reliable. He will show up. You reignite the. Why do I keep hitting the damn microphone today? You reignite the feud with MMA. They are commodities. They are box office. Those are the directions. There's only 2 directions. He tried to go the boxing route. It fell through. You got to go back to Silva and Diaz. It does feel like a waste of a summer, a waste of a 9-month period. They got things done in April with Serrano. That was a huge deal for him. But I don't view this as, MSG might say, hey, that's now 2 fights that have fallen through. But this isn't the disaster I think that people are saying it is. And again, it's not great, but it's not like the MVP ship is going to sink as a result of this. People could say, oh, he should have just fought him at 215. Why? So much to lose. So much more to lose taking that risk, in my opinion. Because you have the Diaz fight on the horizon, because you have the Anderson fight on the horizon, and maybe because you have if he gets brutally knocked out by Rahman, as we've discussed on this show, why I thought there was more pressure on him than Diaz going into Khamzat, all that goes down the hill, down the drain. You can't compare UFC 151. At that point, UFC 151, the company was like 20 years old to this. This is a boxing promotion with 3 fighters on the roster. Not the same. Not great. I'm not going to say it's a great day at all, but it's not the same. And by the way, 151 didn't tank the company either. They bounced back, and they've canceled events since then too. 51, 76, the January 2019 event at Anaheim, whatever number that was, in Anaheim. They couldn't find a main event for that. Like, events get canceled. It happens. Big money. Ariel, I find it fascinating that top-level UFC fighters are often left with nothing more than a hollowed-out hotel room for pre-fight training, sparring, and weight cutting. It's not really a hotel room. It's like a little bit, it's like a conference room, depending on where they are, but it's not a hotel room. COVID days hotel room, but now it's always been like a conference room. Certainly athletes of this caliber deserve higher level facilities, but I do get a kick out of seeing the teams adapt to this awkward environment. Groups gather together in a 12-by-12 space, punching, kicking each other while avoiding pendant lights and kitchenettes in and out of a one-person sit. Yeah, my question is, have you ever heard of these rooms getting damaged and or fighters getting injured due to the confined spaces? I mean, fighters have gotten injured, but I mean, there's the famous Ken Shamrock one, but a lot of people don't believe that he was actually injured. They thought it was self-inflicted. Listen, you can complain about that. To me, what about the fact that they don't get like nice hotel rooms? What about the fact that they, more often than not, are flying coach to and from these events? That's just as egregious, if you ask me. What about the fact that they have to pay for extra hotel rooms if they're bringing training partners and whatnot? That's just as egregious, if not more egregious. Nim. Hey, Ariel, New York Rick's birthday montage video by No Context Ariel got me reflecting on some of the great people that have been on your career journey, namely TST, GC, Mysterious Frank, and New York Rick. How about that? He included you, Frank.
Super exciting.
What is your most memorable / proud moments in their respective MMA and MMA media journeys? One each for New York Rick, TST, GC, MF. Cheers, mate. Have a good rest of the week, Nim. Wow. It's going to make me say all these nice things. For me, for New York Rick, I mean, there's a lot. It's been a long journey, 10 plus years at this point. The stuff that we did in the first iteration of the show was huge. I always said, you know, the loyal. I'm a big loyalty guy. I'm a big, you know, I have your back, you have my back guy through thick and thin. The fact that he left with me to go and work on the ESPN show before even having a deal of any kind or any kind of guarantee or any kind of word or any kind of promise or any kind of anything was huge for me. Being there for the first show was huge for me. I was very nervous that day. And then the fact that, you know, he got the digital, the social gig, the ESPN MMA gig without ever really having a background in any of this and didn't just take the baton and ran with it, freaking crushed it, killed it, became the belle of the ball. By the time I left ESPN, New York Rick, way more liked there than I was, because there were no sort of like, you know, drama surrounding him, baggage surrounding whatever. So I was very proud of that. Like, you know, that could have not gone that way, and he made sure that it was going to go a certain way and worked his ass off. And there was a period he was driving from his home to Bristol every day, back and forth, 2 hours, back and forth, just to make sure that that was going to be a success. And of course, he had a fine young woman named Tessa Hirsch by his side. They were a great tandem, but I was very proud of that for him. And now great to have him back here, crushing it on the social side of things, and great to have him back on the show. For TST, I mean, I met TST when he didn't even know what MMA stood for, UFC stood for, and now the guy is like going to more UFC events and MMA events than I have in the last month. He's been to more MMA and / UFC events than Dana White has this past month, for goodness sakes. But he left ESPN with a dream of having more freedom and being more independent, and now he's absolutely crushing it. So very proud of him for that. GC, you know, we met GC when, you know, we were looking for the new producer of the show, and with the help of Corporate Alex and Brian, we were doing a bunch of interviews with people and sifting through applications over the summer around this time last year. And no one fit. It didn't really work. I wasn't feeling the vibes. It wasn't that, and big shoes to fill, of course, with New York Rick. And then I remember TST telling me, you know, this guy that, you know, we did a couple of stuff on ESPN radio together, was, you know, potentially interested, and it was perfect. Into the gambling stuff, big sports fan, seemed like a normal guy, seemed personable, seemed hardworking, was ready to move, was ready to switch it up. And I think about that all the time, because there was one guy that we were close to hiring and I just wasn't feeling it. And thank God TST emailed me when he did, because I think everything would have been very different. I mean, GC would be working on game night right now. You'd be getting ready for, you know, no, you think you would have been gone?
I had a few prospects.
Wow. Okay. Here I am.
You weren't the only people.
Wow. Who are you talking to?
NPR.
Well, that's not bad.
And a college basketball outlet as well.
Let's go.
Let me tell you something. If you would have gone to UFC Long Island, no one would have noted who you were if you were working with NPR.
Wouldn't have gone to UFC Long Island one.
Do you think you would have even, like, I mean, think about how, like, sliding doors, right?
Yeah.
Different life.
I mean, completely different life.
LFA,
Nope, wouldn't have happened.
PFL.
I wouldn't even have known that LFA was taking place in Phoenix that weekend.
That's right. Amazing. So I'm very thankful for that. And now you talk about the proud stuff. It's like now he's become, you know, the biggest baby face in the game, crushing it. Own podcast, social media. What are we at? Like 12,000 now, probably, followers. I mean, just killing it, exceeding expectations. I don't think anyone thought that GC was as talented as he is. I think most of us just thought like you were an audio guy, to be honest.
I knew he would do it.
You knew?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
TST didn't know either.
TST didn't even know. So that was huge. Very proud of that. And then Mysterious Frank came in, and then when I met him, I pulled Corporate Alex to the side. And I was like, is there anyone else that we can get? Because
Why am I not surprised?
He's scaring the
you
children.
have a choice, and you you just go low.
He's scaring the kids. No, I mean, talk about a guy just absolutely killing it. The attention to detail, the speed in which he turns around the podcast, the little trinkets. And then for me, big Howard Stern guy, big fan of the show. And it's just great to I mean, I feel like you're, in many respects, my Baba Booey. And that's probably the greatest compliment that I could pay anyone. You know who Baba Booey is, right?
Yeah. And I'll take it.
Fafa Fui. There's a bunch of different monikers, but it's just great to have someone. I used to do a radio show in college, Saturday mornings. No one would listen to it. WERW, Syracuse. My mom and sister were my only listeners. And I think I've mentioned this, right? I had a fake producer on the show named Lester C. Dearson, and I used to talk to him. Of course, there was no one there. I was in an empty room. But this, like what I would do, I'd be like, what do you think about that, Lester? Oh, yeah, he can't talk. He's behind the thing. You have become my Lester. And that's a great compliment.
Oh, thank you.
I hope you realize that because now I can actually say something to someone and you can respond. So it's just been great. I'm very thankful. And I'm thankful that most importantly that I have met more people who are loyal and, loyal is the word, but also like respectful and hardworking than the opposite. Because I've certainly met the opposite as well, but they have been few and far between. Not to mention the great team at MMA Fighting and all the other people that I work with as well. Man, to come from the characters that I was around in a previous life to now, I am very thankful, and I will leave it at that. So thank you for the great question. That was fun. Now, who's going to say nice things about me? Should we go around the table?
Yeah, I was wondering. Are we having a toast to you now?
Ali. Hi, Ali. I hope you're doing well. Long time no speak. Hi, Ariel. What can be done to ensure more challengers outside of the top 5 get title fights too? Title fight shots. There are some killers out there outside of the top 5, like in welterweight, Bilal, Brady, Shavkat. Yet we are constantly exposed to rematches. As a fan, I'd rather see the new different guys like the ones listed above given chances than Masvidal, Covington, Edwards get rematch after. Yeah, I mean, this happens. This happens. They just got to work their way up and build their profile, build their name. This issue will never go away. By the way, let's not complain about Leon Edwards getting a title fight. His first fight was in 2015 against Kamaru Usman. Pre-championship, prelims. That dude deserves it. Vindiggy, happy Warrior Wednesdays. All right. Please rate these contemporary phrases used by today's generation. GC and Frank Mysterio can help conjugate. From 1 to 10, how much do you like the term mid? Don't love it. Frank, what about you?
Honestly, I don't like it.
GC?
I like mid.
Yeah? You use it?
Mid. Yeah, every once in a while. I'm still in my 20s, though.
Telling someone
explains a
to
lot.
touch grass. I don't even know what that means. Does that mean go outside?
Yeah, just like someone
Go
like,
take a
is
hike?
hounding you on the internet. Yeah, go touch grass, bro. Like, log off.
You like it?
I don't use it that much, but I get it.
Frank?
I don't like it. I like Connor used the one kick rocks the other day. I thought
Yeah.
that was more effective.
Old school. Sus? This
Hate
man
it.
says
Hate
one
it.
you're intimately familiar with. Hate it.
Yeah.
GC?
No, I don't hate it.
I don't hate it either.
Yeah, you guys can just go back to playing your Among
Because
Us.
Frank is sus, bro.
So great. Great. Try hard? What's a try hard? Like someone who just tries hard? Is there? I've never really heard that one as like a
Yeah,
phrase.
Like a try hard. I don't know how else to describe it. Like annoying, like does too much extra.
Like a goody
over the
two
top.
shoes?
Yeah.
Oh, this is
just
kind of
like-
ringing a bell.
Is that you?
I was thinking
Oh, you-
more GC, but
Oh,
Wow.
I thought you were taking a shot at BJG. You've actually called him.
Coming in on crypto like that.
Yeah.
no way.
You've said
Crypto is-
this.
No,
This guy is freaking crawling. I see him. I'm
he
doing
just
the
put his
interviews.
headphones on to find out what's going on.
He's crawling under the thing. He's
Yeah,
freaking
but-
hanging from the
Yeah, but that's not
rafters.
being a try hard. Like that's like
That's just
doing your
working
job,
hard.
going above and hard. Yeah, working.
I
hard.
agree. No, it's
Try hard is like you're doing too much.
Yeah, like going on vacation.
Like you're doing too much.
and
Oh.
filming.
It's people like Frank that look down on that behavior. I actually applaud that behavior.
Yeah,
what-
but that's not what a try hard is. Try
Got
hard
it. Okay. My bad. What about dog water? I've never even heard that.
Oh yeah.
What is
It's
that?
like bad.
Just bad?
I've never heard this one.
Say it to me in a sentence.
All right, let's say we're like we ordered queso at a restaurant. It's just like, oh man.
You say queso?
What? We ordered what restaurant?
We ordered queso at a restaurant. You tasted it.
Oh, queso.
Chili con queso. All right.
Okay. Would you say queso or not? Just like, yeah, I ordered cheese at the
I
restaurant.
don't think I've ever had queso that was dog water. But I understand the sentiment.
Vinny says, P.S. If you ever tell Walter to touch grass after he beats you in chess or coupe, you will have plus 100 dad points. I don't know if I can say that to my son. He told me to get wrecked.
That's still thinking. I have such a visual of them. And this is after you guys played coupe?
Yeah. I'll say this. I don't block, I've said this before. I don't block anyone on Twitter, except for if you're like super, super, offensive. The only time I block is when you complain about the lineup of the show. And one person today said this lineup is mid. I'm like, yeah, sorry, the foreign studio guests weren't good enough for you. And so that was an instant block for me. So sorry, bud. McKinney, what's good, Ariel, and the entire MMA Hour team? My question today is regarding a topic that a lot of sports fans hold near and dear to their heart, particularly GC, that being sports memorabilia. That is being sport. I know that you're a big memorabilia guy yourself with constant additions to the MMA Hour set and fighter immortalizations. By the way, I'm still waiting for JRC's picture. But today I want to know what personal piece of sports memorabilia is your most sacred and why. For me, it would have to be my WrestleMania 20 tee featuring Kurt Angle, HBK, Triple H, Chris Benoit, and the legendary Latino Heat, Eddie Guerrero on the front. It is significant being that it was the first Mania I ever watched and loved ever since. Outside of that, my brother Sean and I got a signed picture with the Mensch, Cyril Ganwell at the first UFC London card this year. Would love to hear everyone weigh in on this topic, and all the best from Derry, Ireland. What about a guy from Ireland saying Mensch? I love that. GC, you got one?
Was his name Connor McKinney? Or it just said McKinney?
McKinney.
Someone hit me up from Derry, Ireland about their T-shirt store. I bought one. They have some really cool stuff on it. I think
what do they
it's
have?
The same guy. Just like cool graphic T-shirts. Yeah, I bought one. A place called Storefront.
Favorite memorabilia?
Mm.
It's tough.
Probably my UFC Long Island poster.
Stop.
My dad gave me a signed Herschel Walker Georgia helmet.
Wow.
That was
How do you
pretty
feel
cool.
about it now?
I feel like it's been devalued a touch with his latest antics, but I mean, he's still like the greatest Georgia player of all time. So that was cool. I met Matt Ryan, Falcons. I met him, got a signed picture from him and everything. I don't have like a ton of like really cool memorabilia. I more of just have like the merch.
No, I get that. What about you, MF?
For me, it's an Arsenal scarf that I got in London.
Why?
I wanted to go to an Arsenal game, and it didn't work out timing-wise, so I just got a souvenir and stuff.
Are you an Arsenal fan?
Yes.
Wow. Have we talked about this?
Occasionally, yeah.
I don't know about that. Thierry Henry? Is that your guy?
Yes.
Arsene Wenger?
Yes.
I feel like you don't know who these people are.
You know what?
Why are you an Arsenal fan?
I have a buddy in West London. I'll leave it at that.
All right, fair enough. I have a lot. Very hard for me to choose from. I used to go to baseball games with my brother and get autographs, and we have binders filled with these cards, autograph balls, all this stuff. If I had to pick one, I used to love a player on the Expos named Lenny Webster. And Lenny Webster was number 25, and he was the backup catcher for the team in the early 90s. He was Jeff Facero's personal catcher, meaning he would only play when Facero was pitching. So he'd only play every 5 days, and he was this kind of short, stocky guy, and he was just cute. He had like a little bubble butt, and I just loved him. I loved him. He was my guy. Like every time he played, I was like, Lenny Webster is clutch. I love this guy. And I used to like shout him out. And then one day he said, my man, I got something for you. And he brought me his bat. And then he signed it for me. And I still have it at my parents' house. It's broken. And yeah, he saved it for me. And I thought that was awesome. So shout out to the great Lenny Webster. There's a lot. I have a Walt Frazier signed jersey. A lot of cool stuff. Batting gloves, balls, ton of, like I have a Cal Ripken signed ball that I got. Barry Bonds was a total dick to me, but still signed my ball. Tony Gwynn was super cool. I was wearing a Houston Astros hat, and he's like, I'm not going to sign your ball unless you throw that hat on the field. And so I just threw my hat on the field, and then he signed it, and then he got me the hat back. Great memories. By the way, shout out to the San Diego Padres.
What did Barry Bonds say to you?
Barry Bonds was the biggest dick. So I used to go to these games, thank you for asking, 2 hours before, and we would always go to the visiting side because that's where the stars were, and they were coming in, and you could get the Expos guys anytime. So this is like, Bonds, he's the man. He's on San Francisco now, no longer Pittsburgh. And all these kids are crowding over him, over the dugout, like, Barry, Barry, Barry. So I gave him my ball, and I had a Sharpie because when you give someone, the ball to sign, like, you want it to be on a Sharpie. You don't want it to be with a pen or a pencil. And this guy was holding onto a pen, like a blue pen. And so I give him the ball, and he's about to sign with the pen. And so I said, oh, do you mind just using my Sharpie? And he looks up at me. This is freaking Barry Bonds in his prime. And he goes, are you signing the ball or am I signing the ball? And I said, you are. And he's like, all right, I'm going to sign it with whatever I want. Then so like if you have a baseball, there's a sweet spot where the seams come. It's almost like a sad face and a happy face, and there's that spot in the middle. That's where it's of most value. Not that I was ever going to sell these things, but it just looked the nicest. This guy, 100% on purpose, uses the pen and goes out of his way not to sign it in the sweet spot.
Oh, man.
And so I asked him, could you sign it in the sweet spot? And he said, kid, I'm signing this wherever I want to. And maybe he was a little ballsy after the pen comment, but he was just mean. Now, to his credit, he signed. Ricky Henderson was also a dick. He just didn't sign and was just like mean to everyone. And then you had like sweethearts like Tony Gwynn. But anyway, great memories.
That was kind of fun.
Hello, Newman. Hello, Ariel. The acronym GOAT is thrown around a lot these days, but we've recently lost two of the greatest of all time at what they did in Vince Scully and Bill Russell. Couldn't agree more. What a horrible last few days. Now, they were obviously older, and so it's not a shock, but these are, giants in their field. They are heroes, legends, world-renowned, universally loved, praised, better human beings outside of the arena, stadium, whatever, than they were inside. Just, absolute kings, in my opinion. And the two, Vince Scully, best to ever do it. Bill Russell, you can make the same case for him as well. I subscribed to Peacock and watched SummerSlam this past weekend, and I was thoroughly entertained. I was a huge WWF fan as a kid, and in the early 90s, but I stopped watching around the time Lawrence Taylor and Bam Bam Bigelow were the main event of WrestleMania because I thought it had gone downhill. A lot of people would agree. I never really paid much attention to wrestling since then. I missed the whole Attitude Era and never really watched The Rock or Stone Cold. With my Peacock subscription, I've been able to go back and watch the events from my childhood. I watched the 92 SummerSlam from Wembley. What an event. And on Sunday, and it was incredible. One thing that really stood out was how good Vince McMahon was at doing play-by-play. What are some other events or eras that I should go back and watch instead of the Apex card on Saturday? Golly. Vince was great, by the way. Vince was amazing as an announcer. I guess mid-90s is when you stopped. You got to go watch Survivor Series 97, The Screwjob. Anything from 98, 99, 2000 was incredible. WrestleMania 17 was maybe the best one, X7. WrestleMania 18 was incredible because it was Rock, Hogan. That whole era. Pretty much like up until the Invasion. The Invasion pay-per-view was fun, but then it got all jumbled. And then the brand split. It was like from like 98-ish to 2002-ish. And then it got all weird. That was the sweet spot. Go back and watch any of that. Mole, we can touch again the subject of fights we never... Can we touch again the subject of fights we never got that we wish we did? The one I wanted, but never hear anyone else talk about, was the potential John Jones versus Yoel Romero fight at light heavyweight. Great fight, but like, is that the one? Yoel always struggled to make 85, so maybe you could lend some insight to us as to why we never saw him make the jump to light heavyweight while in the UFC. Well, they were both managed by the same guys at the time, so I don't know if they were pushing for that necessarily. They're both FRM guys. Abe and Malky. Josh, hey Ariel, after Mysterious Frank's suspect sleepover at GC's house the other week, it got me thinking. If you were the guest, who would be the best and worst hosts of a Helwani slumber party out of GC, Frank, and New York Rick? Considerations: cleanliness, betting setup, general banter, hosting capabilities, ambiance, etc. Much love to the crew, Josh. I mean, one guy asks me to serenade you guys. The other one wants me to crap all over you. What's up with that?
Hey, yeah, you gotta take the good with the bad.
What am I supposed to say to this question?
You just answer the question.
No, I'm not answering that question. It's a horrible question to ask.
So you let Lewis pick the question, and you're saying it's a horrible question.
Okay, what would you say?
Just do it at your place.
No, he's saying if you were the guest, who would be the best and worst hosts?
Oh, okay, yeah. So Connor gets best guest. I mean, best host. Excuse me.
Is it
Probably best guest
Yeah.
too. I'm bringing snacks and stuff.
Yeah. Who's the cleanest?
Rick is the cleanest. Like, if you ever look at his background, it's all blurry like me and makes me feel safe.
Okay.
And then you would be the most organized.
Wow. Okay, I thought you were going to say something completely different. I'm going to be like in the corner. I'm not going to bother anyone. I'm not going to ask for anything. I'm not going to make a mess. I mean, I think I'll be the best guest. You won't even feel my presence.
You won't even show up. That would.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what you're going for.
No, maybe. No, I feel like all three would be the best. I mean, I can't pick. It's too hard. Abe, greetings, Ariel. First of all, 2 fingers to those crying about you answering WWE question, especially because I often ask them. Yeah, 2 fingers. Yeah. My question today is, who do you see benefiting mostly from Triple H heading creative? I could literally name 20 superstars, but I've narrowed it down to 3. Baylor, Ripley, Owens, Ciampa, Baszler, and Walter. Not Gunther. Yeah, I agree. They should go back to Walter. Were poorly undervalued by Vince. Sorry, I know that wasn't 3. I was like, just thinking, that's not 3, buddy. Who'd you add to the list? Also, on a side note, under Triple H, I no longer worry about how they'll build Gable Steveson. This is my point. There's so much positivity. There's so much promise, excitement. I mean, all these people. Name them. Honestly, I'm curious to see what they do with NXT. I had a chance to, I tweeted about this. I met Jacob Casper. Did I mention this on Monday? I might have. At the tryouts, and he's trained with DC. He's helped DC prepare for fights. He lived at his house. He and his brother, the Creed brothers, they're going to be huge stars. They're in NXT. I just hope they go back to what NXT was. I mean, there was a time NXT was selling out Barclays Center. Now I don't know if they can sell out, you know, this studio here. I really just want to, you know, I really just want to see Bray Wyatt come back. Now, I see some chatter here. I mean, do you guys want to take this online or offline? New York Rick says Connor's the best host and guest, no doubt. Wow, high praise from New York Rick. What do you think of that, Connor?
I second it in the chat.
You said, I'm typically a humble man, but I think I have to agree. You're definitely getting a what should I bring text before I make my way over. Good vibe check on the overstaying my welcome. It's yeah. Do you think Frank would stay too long? Frank seems like an overstay his welcome kind of guy. Like, it was supposed to be a Saturday, Sunday sleepover, and then he'll ask, like, is it cool if I sleep over Sunday night?
I mean, a back-to-back sleepover would be the most insane request I've ever heard.
Frank,
I'm probably going to sigh before
he
I
was
answer
going
that.
to ask to take a nap before going to work.
I offer him all these private rooms. He denies them.
All these private. I didn't know I had to pick of more than one.
By the way, I'm the best guest. Someone invites us over for dinner. I say, what should I bring? They always say nothing, but you still have to ask the question. Then, you know what I usually bring? I'll usually bring like 2 to 3 bottles of wine, 2 6-packs of something, of like, even though I don't drink any of this, maybe a snack or 2.
That's a great guest.
Banana bread. I'm a big banana bread guy.
Make it yourself, store-bought?
Store-bought. Yeah, I can.
Aye.
No,
I
there's a
honestly feel like
great
at my
plan.
birthday when I invited you.
Oh, there's a great place like a fresh bakery.
Yeah,
Sorry to
yeah.
interrupt you there. Frank.
Yeah.
Okay, that
That's
changes
fine,
things. I
yeah.
thought we were just going
no.
Stop and Shop.
I'm not. No. I'm not talking about like this is like an actual high quality.
That's actually
bakery.
probably better than getting it homemade.
Oh, because people are like, "Whoa, this is amazing!" Where
Wow.
Well, local stuff.
One shopping center you can do all this at?
No, across the street.
You make multiple stops.
No. One park job, across the street.
Ugh.
Same,
Close.
vicinity. Also, is this a thing, by the way? The liquor store, if you want to call it that. I don't know if this is like a staple, but mine sells these incredible, I don't know if it's Icelandic or Nordic, something like that, gummies in the shape of fish. Is that a thing?
Swedish fish?
No, it's not Swedish, but they look like Swedish fish, but they're just the highest quality gummies that I've ever had.
No, you should bring some to us.
I should.
It's only at the liquor store?
Yes.
Are they
Is that-
wine gums or
Is that like a thing that liquor stores do, or is it just this place?
It sounds like just that.
Just
place.
sounds like this place. You mentioned
good.
gummies.
Yeah.
You know, I live in a Jewish neighborhood down in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
I have fallen in love with these kosher gummy bears sold at my local store. Best
High
gummy
quality.
bears I've ever had. Ever had.
Do they have gelt, like chocolate gelt, Hanukkah gelt?
I'm sure they do.
Yeah. I don't know what brand is it? It's not Haribo, right?
No. Like Haribo is like kind of see-through.
Yeah.
These are like,
Haribo's not kosher because there's gelatin in it.
right. I think that's why I like them so much, because there's not gelatin.
Mm.
Reminds me of the Scooby-Doo gummies, real ones now, back in the day, the blue Scoobies. Great.
I don't know what that
Great
is.
times.
The blue
don't-
Scoobies.
Like I said,
What?
real ones now.
Real ones, though. Yeah, fair enough. I think I need to go back and buy those gummies and bring them in. They're
Yeah, I think-
fantastic.
I don't know. And these kosher gummy bears. I mean,
Yeah,
he's
we
telling
could
us
do a
about it.
little-
Yeah, I'll bring in a couple. I
Don't
mean,
want
I'm
you to go out
telling
of
you,
your way
like,
or anything.
a little
an open
kumbaya.
pack is an empty pack of these gummies.
Wow. So you know what? I like to push back. I think I would be up there. I have no doubt that you'd be a great guest. You'd be in there. You'd walk in. You say, "What's good?" You know, everyone's happy. Everyone's excited.
I don't know, man. The pushback you gave,
What pushback?
thinking of dropping down to number 2.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you have
In
you
terms of
over,
what I'm
you're
getting, yeah.
You're getting an entire collection of.
I have the box. Like
wines.
they break out a box for me, and I walk in there with a box. And everyone's like, "Oh, you've outdone yourself again." And my wife's always like, "Why are you buying all this?" Because when someone goes out of their way to make me a meal or at least invite me over, I want them to say to their spouse when I leave, "Man, that Helwani's a good time." And I'm not a good time. Like, I'm not drinking there. I'm not like, but you know what? Mensch. This guy went out of
There
his
it
way
is.
to make
There
us
it is.
feel
Men.
appreciated. That's all. Good manners. I know they do, good manners, South, all that stuff, Southern gentlemen. You don't know about what it's like in Quebec, up north. Speaking of which, Xavier, 514, that's my area code. Salut, Ariel. I'd like to get your thoughts on a theory of mine regarding some of the unfair criticism you've received through the years. Oh, wow. How about that? As a native of Quebec, you have inherited both the Francophone and Anglo-Saxon cultures that make up the province. Thank you. In the latter, interviews are seen as a platform for interviewees to promote themselves and usually consists of relatively easy questions. Conversely, in French culture, interviews are more of an oral match where the interviewee must put up with a barrage of hard questions and defend their stance. This is seen as a way to wade through the BS and provide authentic answers. While part of your audience may not be familiar with this approach, it has definitely contributed to your success and set you apart from the typical MMA interview platitudes. Wow. Continue le bon travail, mon homme. Wow, that's very nice. No question there. Just a nice compliment. I appreciate it. Without a doubt, if you think I'm a good interviewer, it's because of one person and one person only, and that's my mom. My mom is a great listener and a great question asker, and I think I developed all of that from her. So, all praise Mama knows. Elijah, afternoon, Ariel. Yesterday's Nick Diaz. I'm reading these too quickly. Yesterday was Nick Diaz's 39th birthday. Happy birthday, Nick. Just wondering, what your favorite fight of his outside of his fight with Paul Daly and your favorite moment of his as well. Have a great show and day. Man, I think you got to go with Takanori Gomi, right? You got to go with Takanori Gomi. You got to go with the Gogo Plata. That's a great moment. The win over Daly, great moment. Robbie Lawler fight, tremendous moment. Beating BJ Penn. Where you at, George? Where you at, motherfucker? Where you at? Big moment. Someone's going to clip that off for sure. Yeah, the guy's the man. Elite XC. Getting to cover a Nick Diaz fight in Stockton was amazing. He fought Thomas Denny. I was there. That was really cool. The Strikeforce run was great. Cyborg, Zaromskis. There's only one Nick Diaz. What a legend. I hope he's doing well. Trey, shalom. Hopefully I can make it into the hopefully I can make it into the popular crowd this week. Anyways, I saw Tatiana Suarez make some comments that she anticipates a comeback before the end of the year. I hope so. She's one of the greatest, if not the greatest, what if in the history of the sport. How big will her return be for the strawweight division? And who's a great opponent for her? Just get her in. I don't even care. Get her to fight anyone. Give her the easiest matchup. Just get her mojo back. It's been so long. It's been 3+ years. Just get her in. I've reached out to her. Maybe when she announces her comeback, she could come back on. But I really don't care. Like, to me, get her the easiest fight possible. Just build her back up. Hi, Ariel, from Taco Enthusiast. I'm interested in hearing your take on the events leading up to the Jake Paul versus Hasim Rahman cancellation. While I understand that Rahman signed a contract with stipulations that he wasn't prepared to meet, my opinion is that Jake Paul camp negotiated exactly as boxing promotions always have, in poor faith, with stipulations that create unfair advantages. Interesting. For all of Paul's talk about changing boxing and prioritizing fighters and fighter pay, I'd argue that his camp's negotiation tactics were exactly the kind of tactics that have turned people away from boxing for years. What are your thoughts, and how do you view the contract negotiations events leading up to the canceled bout? I wish you would have expanded on this, because I'd love to know what you are referring to when you say they negotiated in poor faith. Didn't they agree to a deal? Didn't he sign a contract to fight at 200? And then didn't they agree to fight at 205? What's the bad faith? Like, I get the fact that the weight wasn't ideal for him, but it's not like the world was clamoring to see Jake Paul versus Hasim Rahman. Like, this was the opportunity. If he couldn't make that weight, he couldn't make the weight. But why should he fight Hasim Rahman at 215? So if you're implying that they did something shady, or that they pulled the plug too early, or that they knew it would turn out this way, I don't know why they would go down this path if they knew it was going to turn out this way, then okay. But I really don't see, I guess the only thing that you could say is they pulled the plug too early. Like, they didn't sit around and wait to see if maybe they could come to terms at this weight or that weight. But there's so much for him to lose. I don't know. 200, 205, what are they going to do? So I wish you would have expanded on your comment so I could understand where you're coming from. Rehydration, all that stuff is, look, you have to understand, in boxing, you're your own promoter. So of course you're, especially when you're that young and that early in the game, you're going to look for scenarios that favor you. Everyone does that. But there's nothing that I saw in the build-up to this that I feel like it was in poor faith. Like, it was, they weren't, tricking Rahman, swindling him, lying to him, or anything like this. Even the pay-per-view point stuff, like, it's all there. It's not like he found out after the fact. He agreed to it all before the fact. Wonka's Made. Hey, Ariel, wondering why does the UFC like to do most of its pay-per-views on the West Coast and South, while the big sports cities on the East Coast, such as Boston, Philadelphia, rarely get pay-per-views or even fight nights? I mean, right now they're going to the places that are going to accept them the easiest, pay them the most to come. Historically, it's always been a very West Coast-based sport, but this this is just, pandemic ages. Like, go look pre-pandemic, and they were pretty much all over the map. So Texas, Florida have now been very open to giving them what they want, rolling out the red carpet. So that's why they've been Texas, Florida. I mean, that is the East Coast. Florida is the East Coast. Obviously, Vegas is their home base, so they're going to do events there. But pre-pandemic, they were all over the place. Okay, just a couple left. Christian, Ariel, did you consider stepping in to fight Jake Paul on short notice after the fight against Rahman fell through? I can't imagine that you'd pass up the opportunity to headline at the prestigious MSG and show off that Helwani boxing. There were some talks, some brief, very brief discussions, but no, I would never do that. I was bummed. I will admit I was bummed. It was just such a great opportunity. Showtime, MSG. I love doing those in-ring interviews. Ugh. By the way, I sort of got over it, and now you reminded me of it, and now I'm sad all over again. I was really bummed. I was really, really bummed. Anytime I could work a show and not have to get on a plane and leave my family is like the greatest. And this one was like the greatest of all the greatest. I've been to events at MSG, obviously Knicks. As far as combat, you know, I did the 205 event, I did the DC event, I did the George St. Pierre against Bisping event. I was high up in the rafters. I sat press row for Taylor Serrano, but never in the ring or anything like that at MSG. That would have been freaking cool as hell. Jake Draws. Hey, Ariel, a few years ago, I remember you mentioned that you had never touched a drop of alcohol your entire life. That is not true. I've never said that. But lately, it sounds like you've loosened up a bit and will have a beer from time to time. What brought this change, and what is your favorite drink? I've never said that. When I was younger, actually, I was never crazy, but I had the odd Jack Daniels. I used to feel like I was cool by drinking Jack Daniels because Mick Foley used to talk about Jack Daniels, and I thought he was cool, believe it or not. I read that in his book. So my friends would be like, give me a Labatt. And I would say, I only drink Jack Daniels. I feel like Frank respects that, right? You respect that stance, correct?
Yes.
JD?
I mean, I like Jack Daniels just fine.
Give me an old fashioned.
An old fashioned with Jack Daniels?
I don't know. I just like saying old fashioned.
Okay, yeah.
But then for a period I stopped. But by the way, there's no real reason. I just don't really like how I feel like you're bloated, you're this, you're that, you're acting crazy. Now I'll have the odd thing if I feel like it, if I really want to have a good time. I think my go-to is probably Guinness, believe it or not. A nice Guinness is very refreshing.
Good for you.
Yeah, you like that?
Not a Modelo?
I do like a Modelo. It's a different experience though, right?
It is, yeah.
Modelo, very light.
Guinness on the polar opposite.
Sure.
It's like eating a steak.
Love it.
But then it
very
becomes
refreshing.
Very refreshing.
Right.
That's when you know you have a problem. It's what we call a pregnant pause.
Yeah, just reading stuff. So anyway, I don't love hard liquor. I'm not a huge fan of that. If I had to pick one hard liquor, if you will, Proper 12 is probably my liquor of choice. Have you ever had Proper 12, Frank?
I have not.
GC?
Yeah. Still trying to find Howlerhead, though.
We need to have a get together where we have some Howlerhead on the thing. We have some Proper 12, some Puncher's Chance. That's
Modelo's Puncher's Chance.
Yeah. I have a Puncher's Chance, and my friend was over, John Beer, and we had, because we had not seen each other in 3 years, it was the only thing I had. We took a shot of Puncher's Chance. How about that on a Sunday evening?
When you text me, what should I bring? I'll text you back.
Puncher's Chance?
Bring the bottle of Puncher's Chance.
Even if it's open?
And the gummies.
Is that poor form to bring a open bottle?
No. In fact, just put it in a decanter. And then, so it looks all ornate.
But yes, I've never said that I...
Puncher's Chance in a decanter.
Yeah.
Isn't it like a black liquor?
I think it's bourbon? Bourbon?
I want to say it's rum.
What's your drink of choice, GC?
Oh, I don't know. I like White Claws.
You know, I just had a White Claw for the first time in my life on Saturday.
Pretty refreshing.
I was at a barbecue and they had them. And I said, I never had this. It was all right. It was very like seltzery.
It's like a
yeah.
sigh.
I mean, I love. During the pandemic, I got like addicted to sparkling water. Beer, though, I like Guinness. I like playing the Guinness game.
You do like Guinness?
Oh, love it.
Oh, you
drink
play the
down to
Guinness
the
game where you
G.
try to get it in one with the letters.
Oh, right. You know, my friends from BT, they were playing this game where there was a cup of water and they're pouring the water and you have to get it right to the top. And they're freaking out about this game.
I've heard of that, yeah.
They were like going nuts, like it was the World Series.
It is an important game. Because everybody comes and dribbles a little bit in, right?
Yeah.
And then whoever spills, it's like Jenga.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What's your drink of choice, Frank?
Spirit-wise, right? Like a Yamazaki, Japanese whiskey.
I knew you were going to have something like very obscure that no one... What are you talking about? First of all, what do you mean spirit-wise?
Like, you're asking what kind of spirit I like. Now, beer-wise, Miller High Life.
Miller High Life, huh?
Followed by
Class.
Modelo and then Guinness.
Oh, okay. You're not one of these like IPA guys. I don't like
I used to be
it.
stronger to them, but...
Why do people care so much about all this? That's what I want to know.
You like wine, right?
Not really.
Okay. Well, have you ever been to like a vineyard?
Nah.
So people always talk about wine. They're like, "Oh, I like drinking wine because it reminds me of Tuscany." And this.
Right.
I actually was hanging out at a brewery in Seattle, and like you could smell the hops, and then you drink the beer that they make from the hops, and it's like this is one and the same. And you take a bottle with you, you know.
Also,
beer.
it smells pretty bad, right?
If you don't like that herbal kind of earthy smell, sure. But
I used to live right next door to the Brooklyn Brewery in Williamsburg.
you didn't like it?
It stunk. It
You
was
know what?
horrible.
But a brewery. Oh, you guys are talking IPAs.
I don't know what it was, but it
The
was horrible.
vineyards smell great.
Don't-
I
Isn't
thought
it
we were just
annoying?
talking like beer. Wine would be my.
That's your number one?
Oh, for
That's
sure.
class. Red or
Do you have
white?
a- yeah. What's your go-to?
I'm actually a white wine.
Really?
Yeah.
Pinot Grigio?
Yeah, that Chardonnay, Riesling. Sometimes.
Wow. No wonder you were freaking living it up over there in Europe.
I do like reds
In
though.
your fancy
too. I like
shoes.
them both.
Mm.
Gun to my head though.
Yeah.
Yeah, going white.
I like a good Manischewitz.
Hmm.
You familiar with that?
No,
Really?
I feel like you're lobbing something up for me. Here.
No. I mean, Manischewitz. Frank, you know Manischewitz, right?
That's the red wine.
Kosher wine.
Yeah, but it's still
There's like one. There's one in that market, and it's Manischewitz, and they freaking dominate everyone.
and it still has alcohol in it though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can get the grape juice, or you can get the red wine. I feel very.
I prefer sparkling dry white wine.
See, you know what pisses me off when you go to one of these places and they're like, what would you like? Earthy? Would you like a fruity? Like, it's all tastes the same. Let's not pretend.
That's not no. Like I think once you drink more of it, you start to develop a palate for it.
Is there anything more annoying than being with someone at dinner and they're like,
This is like a Curb Your Enthusiasm bit. Like, you've seen that, right?
No, they're like this.
I mean, that is no, but that's.
Have you ever been with someone who sent it back?
Yes.
Oh my
who
god!
sent it back? Oh yeah, of course.
Really?
Yeah.
I would die. I would collapse under the table. I would be so embarrassed.
This is literally a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode.
Never seen it. They're like, would you do that, GC? Would you send it back?
No, I'm not like a wine snob.
Okay.
It's just like, it's a nice middle ground of potency between beer and liquor.
I feel like Frank would send it back.
Tastes good.
That's why you said
Yes,
that.
Frank
I'm
would
not a
definitely
high
send
level
it back.
wine drinker,
Frank
but I
would send back a
understand why they do
Michelada
that.
if it wasn't poured properly.
Wow.
I understand why they do that. It makes sense. It's their gig. It's their hobby.
Why do they do that? They're like,
Because they're looking for the legs on the glass. They want to smell it because most of the taste comes from the smell.
what does the legs mean?
The legs is like when you see it start crawling down the side of the glass. Like you will hear somebody say, "Oh, this has nice legs." It's after they swish it around and they're looking for that viscosity on the inside. Of
Wow.
it's a whole thing. It's like
This is actually
dunking
pretty
on
impressive.
NASCAR, where like there's
I
a lot
took
more
a,
involved in it than just like the
There's no dunk.
boxed wine. You know,
I
people.
took a master class on wine. I'll give you my login info.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you know about the legs?
Yeah, the legs, the tan.
The fact
So-
that you don't is actually kind of surprising. So because you keep mocking it like this, I'm offended.
Like, what are you looking for? We have a
This is so
1967.
not okay.
What goes well with that steak? Shut the hell up. Just take whatever it is. Does anyone ask any of these questions? What goes well? No, you want your stupid drink, just have your drink. I think all of that should be abolished. I don't think that should be a part of the culture.
Oh man.
Yeah. How about that? There's your hot take. Last one. Aaron Pete. Good day, Ariel. Thank you for making my work commutes great. You're welcome. My partner and I go for night walks and talk about the show. Wow. Wait, Frank.
What's wrong? I'm sorry. Oh, here we go.
She thinks, his partner, Aaron's partner, thinks the voice is hilarious. By the way, what about this couple that goes on night walks and talks about this show? I don't know whether to be like feeling like complimented or a little concerned. I think it's pretty cool. One quick question. You have a thriving podcast and a live YouTube show. I host a show myself. I'm trying to grow an audience and grow audience retention. Any advice on how to help listeners connect with the podcast and tune in proudly? Wow, what a great question, Aaron. Well, first of all, good luck to you. It looks like you write the blog bigger than something, but I can't click on it. There's a few things. Consistency is key. If you say you're going to put out a show every Tuesday, you got to put it out every Tuesday. In fact, I love, I got a boat to pick with my friend TST. I love the podcast Cheap Heat, and I like to listen to it on the commute to the studio Wednesday morning because they come out Tuesday. This morning, no Cheap Heat. No nothing, no heads up. Where's the pod? Where's the pod? Consistency is key. You need to put it out exactly. We are on Mondays at 1 p.m. We've been on Mondays at 1 p.m. for as long as I can remember. And I remember talking to Patrick about this, Patrick McAfee, and he was like, you went head to head. I was like, bro, you may be more popular and more famous and all that, but like, I've been here. This is my spot, for better or worse. This is my spot at ESPN. We're going to go down with this spot. 1 p.m. is perfect. 6 p.m. in Europe, most places, 7 p.m. some places, 10 a.m. Anyway, consistency. Be consistent. Look at the landscape. Look at what other people are doing. Take elements from here and there. Take qualities from here and there, but create your own style. Be unique. Be different. Don't do what everyone else is doing. If you want to be a great interviewer, be a great interview. If you want to be a great analyst, but be different. Good quality, right? Good quality audio, very, very important. Good quality video, extremely important as well. If you're doing a podcast, obviously the audio more important than the video, but it all has to sound as professional. If I see a podcast, I'm excited, oh, this guy's on. And then I hear it's like super hollow, crappy audio. I'm not going to listen to it. Can't be bothered. So be consistent, be different, good quality. And then the big one is be a freaking beast. Work hard. And when you think you're working harder, work even harder. And be professional. Reach out to people and be thankful and be grateful. And then be professional even more. And then don't take up too much of their time. When you have a guest come on, have them on for 25 minutes so that the next time you want them on, they'll come back. If you have them on for an hour, they're going to be like, oh, that was a waste of my time. I ain't coming back ever again. Historically on this show, it's been 20, 30 minutes tops for the Zoom interviews. You can't have people on forever because you want them to come back. Obviously, every show is different, but that's the way I always have viewed it. So you want to be respectful of people's time, and you just got to work. It doesn't, it's not easy. I've been doing this now. I graduated in 2004. That's when I feel like the career started, right? And obviously it started in different directions, and I was down the TV production route, and then I went here, and then I went there. But 2004 is a long-ass time ago. It was almost 20 years ago now. And I really started this MMA thing in 2006, 16 years ago. So the biggest thing that I see from people out there is like they want things to happen tomorrow. They want things to happen next week, next month. It takes a long-ass time. And guess what? I don't even feel like I'm even close to where I want to be. I just feel like I'm getting started now. Now it's finally starting to be in a spot where I can get started. The last 16 years, we're working just to get to this point where I can start the race. So you have to have patience. You have to work hard. You have to be professional. You have to be different. You have to have good quality stuff. You have to be consistent. All these things together. And you know what? I never reached out to anyone to ask me or to ask them how to do this. You just kind of have to figure it out yourself. You just kind of have to recognize what you want as a consumer and then give that to your consumers. And the more you do it, the better you'll be, the more reps, the more comfortable you'll be, the more comfortable you'll be in your skin, with your voice, speaking. I'm still not there yet. Believe me, I'm still not there yet. It's a process. Work at it, take it all in, consume other people's stuff, listen, be open-minded, be humble, be grateful, be appreciative, work your ass off, be professional, and over time, you'll grow your audience. I think that's it.